When you care about current affairs, it's on the OShow.
Welcome to the OShow, Canada's current affairs show with strong opinions. And yes, it's a Friday and it's the Scandal Panel. And I know how many of you are so excited to hear from the Scandal Panel. We get messages all the time. You look forward to them kind of summarizing what's going on in the world and in Canada from their point of view. We have listeners all around the world in 37 countries, and a special shout out to Australia, because after the US and Canada and then the US, then Australia in terms of our listener numbers. So to everyone out there, thank you. I have a feeling as the world gets more and more riled up, fighting back against MAGA and fighting back against autocracy, that like-minded countries, pro-democracy countries, allies are going to start tuning in more and more to the OShow and other pro-democracy shows that are out there. We are in a global war between autocracy and democracy, and we're so proud to be on the side of democracy. I want to thank everyone who's subscribing. Let's get to 10,000 subscriptions on this, and for liking and sharing. You know, our clips get hundreds of thousands of views every week when we put them out on social media. And I want to give a shout out to Bonnie Critchley, who's going to be like an Alberta correspondent for us on the OShow. People loved her hot takes on what's happening out there in Alberta, representing the country really well. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about today, guys, on the Scandal Panel. And I want to kind of frame it. I told you off the top in the green room, such as we have one. We don't really talk before the show. We just like to jump right in. But I did mention I'm in a bit of a sporting mood today. First of all, I'm not as sick as I was last week, which is great. So hopefully my voice will hold out. But also, you know, MAGA's in trouble, guys. MAGA is in trouble. And the reason I say that is because, of course, we're going to talk about the United Nations and how crazy Trump was there. But it wasn't just his usual antics. He looked like a fool. And then we contrast that with Carney, and we'll talk about his speech. He did a 10-minute pitch for Canada in this small kind of investors economics session. Unbelievably powerful stuff. And so Canada was out there cleaning up at the United Nations. Trump was looking like a fool to the world. And then on top of that, of course, you have all the autocratic moves they're making, going after James Comey, the Hegseth gathering the generals from around the world. What the hell's that about? We're going to get into that as well. But as all of that craziness is happening there, countries like Canada are looking better and better, and Ukraine is kicking Russia's ass. So much so that Trump is deciding that he wants to be on the winning side of the narrative and is starting to pump up Ukraine. And Carney said that Canada, per capita, is donating more money to Ukraine than any other country, which got a big round of applause at his international meetings. So MAGA's kind of losing some ground on that level. And I know also here in Canada, because man, the attacks against me, I always get them, but there's a whole bunch of weirdos out there who are putting together like this creepy expose on my life. And I'm just going to say this once because it's annoying to have to say it 1,000 times a day on X and other places. But let me just make it clear off the top. I worked for the CBC like 26 years ago. My husband works for the CBC as a cameraman, and maybe Keith and Mark, you guys can back me on this one. Cameramen don't make editorial decisions. They're not the ones who are deciding what's in the news. And if you know my husband and I'm the talker. He's not. He does not come home and influence me despite the conspiracy theories that he does. I don't take any money from the government, nor does my company. I don't work for the Liberals, nor does my company. I do this for the love of country, for fuck's sakes. So I know some people in MAGA land have to think that everything is some kind of a fucking grift, but it isn't for me. I've been doing this locally for 25 years on cable as a volunteer, and I do it now out of the goodness of my heart. And so do my excellent Scandal panel who are joining me. Keith Leslie, of course, an esteemed journalist, worked in the media a lot longer than I did as a journalist. And that's why we always start with Keith, because he's got the wisdom and the receipts. And also Mark Cripps, who has not just worked as a journalist and as an editor, but also worked within government, which gives him an excellent perspective. So Scandal panel, guys, sorry for the long intro, but you know, I just got to put it on the record in case I have to use this as a clip later so they get it through their fucking heads. Okay, because I'm tired of writing about it. All right, welcome to the show, guys. Keith Leslie, we have all that to talk about internationally, all the UN stuff. We've got Carney, a budget coming. We've got Poilievre and his first time back in Parliament and how pathetic that's looking. We've also got, of course, Ford and Smith who want to challenge the Notwithstanding clause move that they're trying to make federally. So you go wherever you want to, my friend. I'm game to jump into all of it.
Me too. I like Comey. I want to get on that because that's very frightening. But I think for us, perhaps it's the notwithstanding clause, which, oh my God, we just hear a bunch of people tuning out. I'm sorry, but it's a very,
we'll keep it brief on this one. I promise.
But basically, and this is the first time we've seen Doug Ford come out and really rail against the prime minister and say that, you know, this is the worst decision he's ever made. And then he went on a personal attack against the justice minister, said, you know, he screwed up immigration. He screwed, like, it just really attacking the federal Liberal government over this referral by the feds to the Supreme Court of Canada about the use by provinces of the notwithstanding clause in the Constitution. Rarely used by any other province besides Quebec. Ford sort of 1.5 times kind of stuff he used it and withdrew. But Quebec uses it quite routinely, and I think the feds are referring it based on the fact that in Quebec their one law prohibits the display of any, you know, any public servant, doctor, nurse, teacher, from wearing any religious symbol, and they want to challenge that because we have a freedom of religion in our Charter of Rights.
Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of congregation.
Conscience.
We are a free country.
So I kind of agree with Doug Ford on this one. I mean, what the heck are the feds? Why now? Of all the times to be doing it, why now? You just open it up for Doug Ford to just sort of slap you back with, well, how about some bail reform? How about some Young Offenders Act reform? How about dealing with issues that are actually pressing people right now? The notwithstanding clause, I said, is almost a tune-out factor, but it's a very, very important thing. And Ford put it very succinctly. You need 50% of the population and 2/3 of the provinces to make a constitutional change, you know, which is this would require. And he's Ontario and Quebec aren't going for it. So you're dead in the water. You don't have 50% of the population. It's not. So what on earth are the feds? I think this was a real misstep by Carney. Basically the timing. Maybe if you had another time when it was a proper time, you had an issue that the national audience could key in on and really give a darn about. But this is not something that I think most Canadians really do care about. So the feds angering the provinces at a time when they've had some unprecedented unity just seemed like a misstep to me. The timing, especially the whole merits of it. I'm not a legal scholar. I can't get into that aspect of it. But it does seem you're taking rights away from the provinces that they currently enjoy. And why wouldn't they balk at that?
Mark?
Yeah, this is a snoozer. I mean, I get where, you know, the notwithstanding clause for years has been sort of like this hammer that the provinces threaten to use. And you know, if you look at what's happening in Alberta around using it for this, you know, trans identity thing, I mean, that kind of ruins it a little bit for the legitimacy of it. Like, I mean, I can see where it, you know, in Quebec, I don't agree with them using it for the religious symbolism, but I mean, it's like the provinces want to sign executive orders and they really, you know, their own little executive orders, and you know, they want to have that power, you know, and it's kind of a snoozer. What caught me last week, and you know, I know these idiots that attack you, Laura, think we're all friggin', you know, in whatever, like get a life. But I will say that the justice minister being secretly recorded by a gun lobbyist, um, you know, these guys got to wise up. They need to get smarter, and that was a big misstep. And I don't care how much he walks back or tries to walk back. Anybody who hears the recording, you know, he was pretty much trying to placate to a constituent. You can't be a minister. This is a learning experience for him. I'm sure that's why Carney's giving him a little bit of leash. If he had been around for a while, I'm not sure he would survive. But you got to remember in this country that the gun lobbyists, the people that want to put guns in everybody's hands, you know, they'll go to any length to, you know, to expose or to embarrass or to catch you. And, you know, I've seen a few little missteps, you know, I think I agree with Keith and notwithstanding clause. I think this justice minister thing, there's a lot good going on too. I think we're seeing a government now finding its place, and it's going to make mistakes, and you know, hopefully they learn important lessons from this. But overall, I mean, the trend still, people still trust Carney. People overwhelmingly, even conservatives, 40% of conservatives trust Carney to do the right thing for the economy. It's taking time, and I can see where some of the polling is showing, you know, the Liberals slipping a little bit because it takes time to make this stuff happen. It's not, you know, I think everybody expected just bing bang, everything's going to be better. But you know, Canada's economy, we saw yesterday or today, the data comes out, the GDP ticked up. Things are, you know, unemployment's still too high, but overall, Canada's surviving. You know, we're surviving this attack from the United States. And
Wait, the ambassador says, why are we using words like trade war? Why don't we love
that
it?
guy.
It's so
Honestly,
disappointing.
We just got to give him some cash and we'll be fine, right? Just give that guy.
Tweeted a picture out of himself standing in a Nazi fucking cemetery in Germany saying, let us never do this. This is the ambassador to Canada is in Holland, and he mistakes a cemetery that's full of Nazis. and it says, this is why these, people died for war and there's no reason for war. I'm just like, oh my God, people are like, you understand that that's like the SS cemetery. Like, so stupid this guy is. Don't fucking threaten us, buddy. Honestly, like,
honestly, having him say that to the Halifax
I
business,
know.
he's like, we're disappointed. Fuck off.
He's offended. He's clutching his pearls, my dear. Good God. I mean, and he's offended that Canada taking offense at comments like the 51st state and all that. How he gets described as a diplomat is beyond me. I guess it comes with the job title, but he's anything but diplomatic, and especially in a time when we could use someone who's not a champion for Canada, but a champion for better relations between the two countries. He doesn't seem to want that. He wants us to basically accept whatever is dictated by Washington and by his dear leader, President Trump.
So let's lay a base. Let's just lay a base coat for all of our all of a color that is coming here, guys. We all know that the only way to stop a bully, the only way, is to stand up to them right in their face. So let's talk about this for a minute. ABC capitulated on the George Stephanopoulos thing, gave Trump $16 million. Trump comes after Jimmy Kimmel, fails because of the public backlash. Then Trump comes out and says, well, I got 16 million from them last time, so I'm going to sue them again. This will be even more lucrative. Those are the words from the president.
After his staff said, no, he wasn't threatening Kimmel. No, he wasn't threatening Kimmel. He says, yes, I was. I was absolutely threatening Kimmel. I was like, they're trying to walk it down to reality. And the reality is he's making these threats.
And Kimmel's crushing it. He had 60 million last night. He had whatever, or the night before, he had like 45 million. 40 million, whatever. The point is 6 million, 4 million, way bigger than he's ever had before because of Trump. But here's the point I'm making in this. Trump actually said, as the bully in chief, well, I got 16 million when they capitulated to my last stupid threat of a lawsuit, so I'll go for more. So Canada, hear me clearly when I say this. When the three of us sit here and say that the U.S. ambassador can go, don't let the maple leaf hit you on the way out, I'll get someone tagging the FBI in the States saying, oh, she's next, right? Like, tell them to fuck off. Often and early and forever. And the more that they come to us and say, gee, why don't you like us? I love Americans. I have family in America. I love going there all the time. I was in New York during the UN week last year, and I wish to hell I could be back. But as long as they are going to take this posture of aggression and punishment, and they're running a lawless fascist regime, we are not going to be happy with the United States. And we're sure as shit not going to get lectured by the U.S. ambassador that he's disappointed in us like a fucking parent. Get out of here. Like, it's ridiculous. You're not winning favor. Maybe some business leaders in this country are still, prioritizing the bottom line over standing up against this fascist regime. That's what happens when authoritarian takeovers happen. Sometimes it takes people a while to figure it out, but there's no amount of sucking up that is going to make these guys any nicer to us. They doubled down on ABC. They doubled down on law firms. They're going to keep going after anyone who's foolish enough to roll over for them. So having said that, we've laid the base coat. Bullying is bullshit. The only way to stop it is to get in their face. And I'm always going to do that because, as Nicole Wallace said, we're no safer being silent. Like, we're safer in authoritarian takeovers by being quiet about it. You've got to get out there. And yes, there's a huge risk to Americans. We're seeing ICE now throwing women. I've seen 2 videos, ICE agents throwing women, like 10 feet across the ground, right? So the U.S. is fully fascist. There are big names now, guys, who are coming out and saying it. People who up to now have been like creeping and maybe constitutional crisis. They're all saying, no, fuck, we're over the line. The Rubicon is crossed. We're in a fascist regime. Now what do we do about it? I hope they stop watching it like a chain car crash on an icy highway, like they're observers. And I hope they start getting in there and throwing some salt on the road. I don't know what they're going to do. Keith, you said you want to talk Comey, wherever you want to go with this.
That's exactly it. I think Comey is another one of those, Rubicons, as you put it, that was just crossed, and there's no going back. Yeah. Remember, Trump had appointed an attorney general to go after him. Right. Guy lasted a month and said, we can't, there's no case, we can't do it. You're fired. You, my former personal lawyer, you get in there. A personal lawyer he apparently hired at Mar-a-Lago because she looked good in a suit. You're on my legal team.
Mm-hmm. She's never prosecuted a case.
Never prosecuted a case. She's going to take on the former director of the FBI. The guy who, by the way, days before the 2016 election, announced he was investigating Hillary's emails. Didn't that help Trump? Wasn't that the final straw that sort of pushed Trump into office that time? They're going after him.
Yeah.
I mean, but
But isn't that the point that you can't help them? It doesn't matter.
It's just matter. It doesn't matter. You have to stay loyal all the time. Dear leader must be. We were laughing at that meeting where they're all blowing smoke up, and then the tech guys come in and did the same. You have to do it, and you have to do it repeatedly every day, every meeting. You can't just be, slightly critical or even the slightest bit disloyal. You must be on side. And this gets me back to Comey. Where the heck are the Republicans? I mean, this is clearly using the justice system to take out a political well, it's not even, it was the director of the FBI, for God's sake, who, did some things that the president does not like. Were they criminal? I mean, to go after your political opponents in this way is just so scary and such a blatant use. I mean, we've seen him do it before, but this one is just, I think, over the top to see Comey literally arrested for basically treasonous charges.
Oh, don't forget, he did put something with some sand pebbles on Instagram 6 months ago.
Oh, yes, yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Is that the US has to figure this out. Every historian, and of course I'm obsessed with this because I want to live a long life and I want my kids to have a future and I don't want us to be in a war and I don't want us to be taken over by a fascist regime. So I'm obsessed with it and I listen to all these historians who talk about it. So the only thing that works with autocracies taking over is pushback. Anytime you do it, and even look at Trump, he capitulates, he tacos every time he gets some pushback. Canada, by the way, is getting huge respect around the world for the fact of our elbows up. So no matter what the ambassador says, the rest of the world respects the hell out of us. Even I was listening to Scaramucci the other day talking about how Carney is doing this right with Trump, pushing back. Like we are doing the right thing, and we got to keep doing the right thing. And Americans have to realize whether they like Comey or hate Comey, they are all Comey. They are all Comey. It's time to stop being divided and start fighting against the actual threat to them, which is a fascist regime that will only be stopped if people rise up against it. Mark?
Yeah, and it can't just be comedians on late night television. It's fun to sit and laugh about this and think, comedians have it like Kimmel and Colbert, and they have a really unique way of making us laugh about what's going on. But this is some serious shit, man.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we're gonna see some cracks now. I think I was really surprised during the Kimmel thing to see Ted Cruz publicly speak out in defense of free speech. Now, I'm not surprised because that's always been the right wing thing. Like, free speech, man. We should be able to say whatever we want.
And he's building a podcasting career that's more lucrative than being a senator.
Probably, yeah. Oh my God, his impersonation of an Italian of a mob boss was pretty bad, but
they had him do a Kennedy. He did a John F. Kennedy impersonation, and another one. It's even worse.
God. But this I think of things that have happened this week that signal to me that things are crumbling. Obviously, again, we're not talking about the Epstein files, right?
Right.
We're talking about autism and Advil. We're talking about, Jimmy Kimmel. We're talking, we're this whole thing in the United Nations, this speech in the United Nations. Like, I honestly, nothing fucking surprises me anymore with this guy. It was just downright insanity. It was like the narcissist just talking about himself, scolding everyone else in the world. And this is where I think I really like.
We're going to hell. We're going to hell. Don't you know that?
He's destroying the reputation of the United States, which gives opportunity, which is an opportunity for us, right? For us to kind of hey man, we may live above the nut jobs downstairs, but we're actually pretty sane and we have a lot to offer. And, and in terms of leadership role, Canada, and you pointed out earlier, Carney is really showing himself on the world stage. I'm so sorry to you conservatives, but Pierre would never have been able to do this. He would never have been able to do this because he doesn't already have international respect. Carney came to the job already being internationally respected. And,
yes.
This is honestly, and I think sometimes that's what really angers conservatives is that they can see it. They see that this is a moment for Canada and they hate Canada so much that they hate the fact that we might succeed.
I don't think conservatives. So I just want to buy.
Not all conservatives. Sorry. Yes, my dad.
I think MAGA, who's what
Maple MAGA. Yes.
Maple MAGA wants so badly to get to be part of America and everything they think that stands for. Totally foolish given what we're seeing America do to everything.
Throwing women down and bullying people. Yeah.
That's something you want to be a part of. But you know what? If they become part of America, if Alberta joins America, then they're going to be Trump's favorite children. Shit. Bullshit. He will take everything you have, give you nothing, and throw you into a freaking gulag. So
what he did to the farmers.
Now he's going to bail them out with the 17 trillion, trillion that they're making. So he's full of shit. And anyone in Canada who thinks that becoming the 51st state is going to be anything, it's not going to be like Puerto Rico. It's going to be far worse because now they're full on fascist. We won't have any rights. They'll take us, they'll exploit us. They ain't going to treat us good because they don't treat their own citizens good. And no matter how much you suck up to the big king and his regime, the second that he doesn't feel good about you, you're out anyway. So it's not worth it. So it's a stupid argument to join the states, obviously. But I just want us for a moment for our OShow audience, this sounds totally dork. And I am a dork when it comes to speeches because I train people in speeches. I train a lot of executives and politicians and stuff. Not the Liberals, not Mark Carney. Like, okay, but here's is that Carney would not have been invited to that economic forum at the United Nations. They only pick one world leader at the UN to do it. And he was picked. And when they gave the intro, they basically said, obviously, we picked Carney. He has an eclectic resume, the most of anyone. Come to the podium. Like everyone in the room knew him. Everyone respected him. The whole Canadian diplomatic corps was there. Bob Ray's the one who posted the speech video. And I got to tell you, I listened to it. I thought, is this possibly this good? And then I listened to it again with my husband, and we both sat there. And then our daughter came out, our teenage daughter. We're like, you've got to hear this. He did a speech, guys, and I don't know if you've seen it. I'm going to actually put the CPAC thing in the show notes on this. I want every Canadian and anyone around the world listening to listen to Mark Carney explain what is happening in the world geopolitically and economically in 10 minutes. And then how he called it a rupture, not a transition. And he spent the last 3 minutes explaining why Canada is going to thrive in the middle of this rupture. It is not only inspiring as Canadians, he's throwing down facts and receipts about just how much investment we have in our country, just how many of the world's precious minerals we have. He basically said, Canada has what the world wants, and we have the kind of country the world wants to deal with. And he said something at the end that was so beautiful, and I don't want to get it wrong. I quoted a bunch of his things, but he said something to the effect of, it's no longer about the strength of our values. It's about the value of our strength. I'm going to say that again. It's not about the strength of our values. It's about the value of our strength. Because he acknowledged for the last 50, 60, 70 years, the system's been working pretty sweet for Canada. We've been dependent on the biggest market in the world. They've been on the up and we've been on there. We've been going up with them. And that's gone now. And Carney said, so we could have a values-based foreign, diplomacy, foreign affairs. Now it's about the value of our strength. Now it's on Canada to prove its value in the world. And I thought that was such a powerful thing. And another thing he said, guys, then I want to throw it back to you, is he said, our public square is loud, free, and diverse. Or maybe he said loud, diverse, and free. He was pointing directly at the United States for trying to take down free speech down there and for locking people up for things they say and all this shit with Kimmel. And when I heard that, I said, damn, yes, we are loud. I'm loud, as you've noticed. We are diverse in this country. We're allowed to have different opinions, guys. Hello, MAGA, Maple MAGA, get to say this shit. And also, we are free. And as a free country, that is a real features and benefits sales point for that audience. And Carney said one other fun thing. He said, so when you think of Canada, and then he stopped and he looked at the room of international investors and he goes, just think of Canada. That's
on occasion.
And he got big laughs, right? So it was a masterful 10-minute pitch for our country. I know I'm going on, but it was that good. Keith, Mark, want to comment?
Well,
Carney,
after that, an American reporter, I don't know who it was, but an American reporter said, thank you for showing us what a world leader looks like. Reporters generally don't throw out those kind of sober cases. We just don't. I never could, actually. I don't think I would. But nonetheless, I think it was something, because you say he delivered a speech that actually reached people and certainly reached the people in the room. In contrast that with Donald Trump's speech to the General Assembly. I mean, there's so many great moments. My personal favorite one, he was talking about the sale of the Trump was right about everything hats.
Yeah.
Look, it's sincere, and I was right about everything. And you're also wrong about climate change. It's a scam. And
they want to kill the cows, Keith. They're going to kill the cows.
We do eat the cows, but don't tell them.
We kill them anyway.
Seriously, the world, like any Americans that we do know, and my wife has a couple that were friends she was talking with, and they were just talking about how embarrassing that was. I mean, it's just to their core, like the whole world is actually watching at this particular one.
Yep.
And to see a man go up and perform such a self-centered thing. Now, he said a couple things I didn't disagree with, like about the strongly worded UN letters being totally ineffective and this kind of thing. So he had some, but most of it was just such self-aggrandizing bullshit and showing the world what the exact traits you don't want the world to see about your country. So I think he did a lot of damage on the world stage. You said that opens up opportunities for Canada. Sadly, it also opens up opportunities for countries like China, who want to replace the United States in the world influence sphere. And Trump is making it very easy for them to do that, especially by killing USA and all those other different things, withdrawing from the world stage in so many ways. Although there was that one bright spot this week where he freely admitted that his friendship with Putin didn't do any damn good whatsoever. And maybe, Ukraine can get back even more like, it was such a 180 switch, but it was a positive one to see him talking with the European leaders about what we can do to get Ukraine to win
So,
this game.
so there's recent reporting on that I just heard in the car. Apparently, the Telegraph is reporting it, but check sources, guys, because I just heard it. That there was that pivotal moment at the United Nations when Zelensky sat down with the head of the EU and Trump, and came out of that, and then we heard Trump's change in narrative. Now, I don't think Trump's going to give more to Ukraine. I think he sees it as a money making venture. This war,
100%.
he's admitted that, but he might not